I grew up with an alcoholic dad who's very loving. I don't want to overplay that hand. My dad was still an incredible dad, but I was small. I got teased a lot in school. I was bullied. I was an undersized athlete. I'm not particularly high IQ. School, I'm not like your son Roger, or my son Max. School didn't come easy to me. I was a C student, got a lot of D's too, and I tried. So I had to find ways to generate self-confidence because I didn't have it really naturally. And so my way of getting it was, I'm doing things other people aren't willing to do. I'm willing to pay a price so high that other people aren't willing to pay. I must deserve a result other people aren't worthy of, because I don't feel like I'm worthy of it. Initially, I didn't, but my efforts are worthy of it. And so this is an important lesson for everybody. As you're building your self-confidence up, what if you could begin to measure what you're worth based on how hard you work, on what your price is, rather than you think your own self-worth? My own self-worth trailed the efforts I made. I didn't think I was worth it all the time. But man, I'm doing stuff no one's willing. I'm making more phone calls. I'm after it in business more than anybody else in the office. I deserve to be the top guy here. And so I link the price to what I'm worth, to what I deserve. That's a huge breakthrough for me.
This week on American Real, we bring you one of the top podcasters in the entire world, Ed Mylett. Ed Mylett is an entrepreneur, peak performance expert, and the founder of the Ed Mylett Show, a show I personally listen to every single week and receive tremendous insight from him in his teachings. We sit down from his seaside home in Laguna Beach, California, where he shares his incredible story. Ed is a great communicator and is able to voice his knowledge in a seamless way that is really understood by the masses. His life slogan is "Max Out," which motivates others to make the most out of everything you do. You may hear some waves crashing in the background, but don't let that take away from this invigorating conversation. Sit back, relax, as I welcome the one, the only, Ed Mylett. This is American Real. I am Roger Brooks. My guest today is Ed Mylett, entrepreneur, author, mindset aficionado, chairman of World Financial Group, and founder and host of the Ed Mylett Show. In addition, you are a peak performance expert, one of the most sought after speakers and premier business leaders in the world. Ed, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here with you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Long time in the coming,
Thanks
so I'm
so
glad
much.
I'm here.
And look, I know this sounds crazy, but it's so nice to be in your presence.
Oh, thank you.
Because when you listen to someone over time,
Sure.
we talk about manifestation, visualization.
Yeah.
We aspire, and then to have the opportunity, really, it's an honor. And thank you for allowing us in your home.
I appreciate it. And it was very nice of you. And I relate to that. I've had that same experience with other people too, but I'm just an average guy who's been very blessed. So we can talk about any of those things. They would believe me, I'm no big deal. So, and by the way, your son's here too. Am I allowed to say that?
Absolutely.
So Roger's here too. And it's great to have both Rogers here. So
no, thank you. And I don't mean it in a stardom way.
Sure.
It's more, when we were youngsters and we looked up to our athletes, that was different.
Today, just to be able to put something together and for two people to sit down and have a great conversation, because we're all on the same mission. It's to help others.
That's right.
That's why we're on this earth.
Right. I'm going to learn a ton from you too.
So this morning you put up a post about combining growth and momentum. I love that. Because I think sometimes we get stuck, right? We say we want to grow, but then the momentum's not quite there.
Well, you are either growing or dying, right? We all know that, but like, I don't think people understand to the extent that that's true. You have 37 trillion cells in your body. So every second, about 800,000 of them die and are replaced, right? So this is nature happening to us all the time. Your digestive tract, every 4 days, regenerates itself and is brand new, right? Your lung tissue, every 8 days, goes away and there's a new set of tissue there. Well, that should happen with our minds and our identities too. Those other things happen without us having to think about it and take control of it. With our minds and our identities, our self-confidence, our growth, we have to take control and be intentional about it, right? So the point that I was making there was, if you're not conscious of regenerating and replacing that, you will begin to die slowly in every single way. And so, but the kicker on growth is getting some type of momentum going with it. Momentum is like this invisible force. It's like a magnifier. It can take someone like me, and I wasn't saying this in any way with any humility earlier, take an average person like me, and somehow over a long period of time, I've had some extraordinary things happen in my life. It's the combination of both growing and getting some momentum in my life. People underestimate, if they can start to get some small wins, what that momentum begins to look like as a magnifier to your growth, right? And it's something not talked about in personal development ever. Trust me, when people say, well, they got lucky, they didn't get lucky. They were growing, but they did probably get momentum.
Yeah.
And finish, even in sports, the Patriots just won the Super Bowl again. They win all the time, right? They're not always the best team in the NFL. The team that wins the MLB Major League World Series every year. I was at the World Series, watched the Red Sox this year. It's not always the best team, although they were this year. It's the team with the hottest pitching staff. They've got momentum. Or in the NHL, the hottest goaltender or the best defense. The Patriots got momentum on their defense this year. Momentum can take a really great team and make it world class. It can take a great person or an average person and make them world class. So it's the combination of both elements that move your life forward.
And for people that do get stuck in that, what do you recommend?
I mean, I have a lot of friends who used to be rich or used to be successful. And what happens is, this is important, when you do have it going, you have to fuel the flame. You have to keep putting kindling on the fire. Most people, they start to grow. Their external results begin to exceed their internal identity, like what they really think they're worth. And they stop doing the things that got them the growth in the first place. And all of a sudden it seems coincidental, 5 months, 6 months, 8 months later, a deal doesn't close. You have a financial setback. Maybe a relationship breaks up and your life comes right back down to where it was prior because you didn't sustain the momentum, right? The other part are people listening to this or watching who don't have anything good going. And I've been there many, many times too. I think the way you generate momentum is with small wins.
Yes.
We're always trying to do these huge things. Like I say, hunt elephants. You know what? Elephants are really difficult to go find. They're rare. You should go rabbit hunting. Go find small, and I don't mean this literally.
Sure.
Go get small wins. Do little things that create momentum. And people take this for granted. Get up when you say you're going to. Go to the gym when you say you're going to. If you're going to do the things you can control, self-confidence is nothing more than the process of keeping the promises you make to yourself.
Right.
That's what self-confidence is. It's a reputation with oneself that I do what I say I'm going to do. That's how you begin to get these small wins. Whether it's I'm going to make 10 calls today, or I'm going to eat a particular way, and then give yourself credit for it. You do these little things that start to stack in your life, momentum, and that's the catalyst for growth. You think, how in the world is what I eat in the morning have to do with me making money at my job? Just literally everything, right? Or what time I go to the gym is going to have an impact on whether I'm in a good relationship. Yes, believe it or not, these things create little wins and start to give you life momentum. Then there's another momentum that I hope everyone experiences. There's dream catching momentum. So people ask me all the time, did you ever think you'd live oceanfront or have jets or multiple houses? Of course, no, I never even considered the concept of it, right? But what happens is when you start to catch a small dream, I did finally save my first $50,000. I did get a particular promotion. You start getting dream catching momentum. All of a sudden it was $1 million, then it was $10 million, then it was whatever the different things in my life. All of a sudden these different doors open up and you find yourself living like this. I'm an average person who got addicted to growth and was able to sustain my momentum. That's sort of the element for me that got me where I am.
That's so awesome. And back in the time where you weren't doing that, was there an aha moment that it clicked, that you said, okay, now I get it? Or was it gradual?
Certainly most of it was gradual. For me, there was a bottom. So almost like an alcoholic. People should know this. I went so broke that I was broken, like literally. So it got to the point I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs have these false starts. You think you have it going and then you don't. You thinking of you'll experience that with your show. It's going
I
to be a
already
great
do.
rating, and then it just happened to me in my show. So you get it going, then you don't. You get it going, then you don't. And when I didn't have it going, it got to the point where, boy, I mean, I tell you, we had our power turned off. I just gotten married. 6 months after being married, my wife had to go get a second job to support me as an entrepreneur. And I remember sleeping in. She went out to go to this second job in the morning. She comes back in tears and says, on top of everything, our power was already turned off. Someone stole our car. I'm like, oh my Lord, what are you doing to me here? Which was bad, except about 2 o'clock that afternoon, I learned it wasn't stolen, it was repossessed. About a month after that, the water was turned off. And you can have everything in your life going wrong. You don't have running water. You literally start to live like a person third world. You literally do. We couldn't shower. We couldn't bathe. We couldn't cook. It ended up us being up in the morning. We would wake up every morning and we have to go down the stairs of my apartment complex because I had lost my home also. And my wife and I would take a shower in the pool, the outdoor pool at the apartment complex, and the outdoor shower there.
Wow.
Brush our teeth in there. I'd hold a towel up so nobody could see her. She'd do the same for me. And then just completely ashamed, I would walk back up the stairs in the morning and then go pretend to be. And it was a breaking point one morning. She left and I just sort of snapped. I said, this is enough. Like, stop right now, make changes, grow up or give in. And it was just one of those moments. My back was against the wall. And I'm like, you always quit. You quit everything. You quit baseball. You quit going to get your master's degree. Every time something in your life gets hard, man, you quit, right? So this is the moment. Are you going to quit or not? And I literally just decided in that moment, I'm going to turn this around. And it wasn't immediate that it happened, but I had made the decision. Here's the decision I made. No matter what the price is, I'm going to pay it. What most people do when they're struggling is they're constantly negotiating the price. Is this worth it? Can I go another step? Everyone's telling you, why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself through it? And you start negotiating the price, which is a poverty mentality. When I was broke, if I walk in a store, I didn't buy what I wanted. I would flip price tags over. What's it cost? What's it cost? What's it cost? Then I'd find the one I could afford. We do this in our life. What's this costing me? What's this costing me? And we're negotiating all the time. It steals our focus. It steals our joy. It steals our best performance. What happened that day was I stopped negotiating. That's it. Whatever the price is, as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral, I'm going to begin to pay the price. It's a foregone conclusion. I'm not quitting. I'm never quitting, period. So I might as well stop playing this game in my mind. Let's go. And that's a shift probably a lot of people watching this need to make, to stop negotiating the price. If you're going to do it, it's going to be ugly, nasty. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So just decide right now. Are you going to pay it or not? Stop negotiating.
No doubt. And I literally have the chills right now because I've been there.
Yeah, I can see it on your face.
Yeah. We've been there. Our power was shut off.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We've been there. But I guess, as you tell your story, I think about, don't you feel that had to happen?
100%.
It had to happen.
It had to happen.
Part of your journey.
Part of my journey. And I think also it gives me such gratitude now.
Yes.
So one, I learned a lot about myself during that time. I'm proud of me. To think about it, I think my wife's proud of me. Probably more than a nice house is my husband pulled out of that, and I want that for the husbands and wives listen to this. Yeah, it had to happen. It gives me gratitude. An interesting anecdote. It doesn't happen all the time, but often. That's the ocean right there. People can probably even hear the waves crashing. One of my other homes is on the lakefront. And that body of water is spectacular. And when we first moved here, I'd wake up in the morning and go, you got to be freaking kidding me, right? But I got to tell you, more mornings than that, this is going to sound like just strange, but when I have little moments of gratitude that I'll never forget, and it happens not every morning, but many. When I pull the shower in the morning, I pull that lever and the water comes out of the shower, I have this trigger. I'm like, thank you, Lord, just for the water. Because I know what it's like when I pulled it where the water didn't come out.
Yes.
I'm more grateful for the water coming out of my shower every single morning, or when I'm brushing my teeth. It's little triggers than even the ocean behind me. And I wouldn't have that appreciation, nor hopefully a little bit of the humility or the gratitude, had I not gone through that time.
Yeah.
So it was completely part of the plan. I had to go through it. I think I enjoy my life now more as a consequence.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw your post Saturday night. You were with a couple buddies,
Okay. Yeah. I remember that.
Rob and Christopher.
Rob Deerdick.
Right. Was that this past weekend?
It was Saturday.
Okay. And looks like you're having great conversation. You said you had a lot of laughs, belly laughs.
Yes.
But let's talk about peer group.
Okay.
I know you talk about this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I just try to relate this.
Sure.
I'm trying to elevate my peer group.
Sure.
It's great to be able to sit down with you and many other guests, because that helps us
Question.
listen to podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it for people to start to really take a look at who they're
closest network is?
Probably the most important thing that I've been addicted to and obsessed with is who I'm around. It's something that to this day, I'm not trying to upgrade people, but I am trying to get with people who push me, see me as a higher, see my capacity better. See, you have this identity thing in you. And it's like, at least in my opinion, it's like the thermostat on the wall right there. You've heard me say this before,
Sure.
but we might as well just say this now because it relates to this. That thermostat sets the temperature of your entire room here. And your identity is that thermostat sets the temperature of your life. So in this room, if we open these doors, which we did, and cold air blows in here, if that thing's set at 75 degrees, it regulates the temperature no matter externally what comes in here. This room's going to be 75 degrees. If we open that door and it was super hot, the air conditioner would come on, cool it to 75 degrees. That's what you do in your life. How you feel about you, your identity, the thoughts, concepts, and beliefs you hold to be true about you is your thermostat. It's your identity. So it's not the external stuff that blows into your life that sets the temperature. So what happens is if you don't change this temperature, but the external results heat up, you're 75 degrees, but boy, you're making more money. Your relationships are going great. Everything's clicking. You're in better shape than you've ever been. So the external results are here, but the thermostat's still sitting here. Over time, you will cool your life right back down like that thermostat does to about where it was. Everyone listening to this and watching relates to it. They've done it. Consequently, if things go really bad, you're broke, you're out of your worst shape of your life, you find a way to heat it back up to where you are. So the key is altering the 75 to 85 to 90 to 200 to 500. The way you do that is proximity to people whose thermostat settings are higher.
I love that.
And so that's what I do. I do it regularly.
And it never stops, right?
It never stops.
This is a lifelong
right.
acceleration.
I want to have some friends that I'm uncomfortable around. I want to have some friends that see me and expect of me more. And so this is another thing. People say, well, how do I do that? You have to be intentional. You have to begin to look for them, seek them, go to places where they are. Where do they go to coffee shops? Are there groups you could join? Are there something like, for example, My Max Out Universe, that community? Start commenting in the community, meeting people, collaborating, engaging with them, listening to the right podcast. That's a power of it. Podcasts are great. Social media is great, but friendship is the ultimate association. And so this is mandatory. I can tell you, I don't think there's any chance whatsoever the really big things have happened in my life without this group of people that I'm constantly blessed enough to surround myself with, like Rob that night at Saturday. The conversation is unreal. I mean, about we break down personal growth and our strategies and our goals and business things we're working on. And I get feedback from him. He gets it from me. It's just I cherish those conversations. I leave them so energized. And you have other friends you leave down.
Yeah.
Or you've gossiped about people, or it's like, remember when, and all you're doing is reminiscing. It's interesting. One thing where you'll know you're with the right people is you rarely spend any time speaking about other people, and you rarely talk about the past.
Love that.
You really do. You're really talking about the current and the future. And if you're in conversations regularly, it's like, remember when, or that guy, or this, these are not conversations that serve you.
So look, we have a few things in common. One being baseball. I also played baseball.
Yeah.
You played it at a much higher level, but it was a love of my life that I worked really hard at as a young guy. Second is I also worked with the underprivileged youth. Yeah. So we had this program called the Mayor's Action Team. And I was in like 11th and 12th grade in high school. And in the summers, we had a group of underprivileged kids, and we just kept them busy, and we would go do certain projects in the city. But it was really good because I had the opportunity to see, and we grew up pretty lower middle class.
Me too. Yeah.
So, we didn't have a lot of money, but I saw the difference between what we had and these people did not have.
Yeah.
I know you've talked about this.
Wonderful.
Thanks. And I know you've talked about this before, but again, how did that time in your life prepare you for today?
It altered me. So what happened was I was broke, and I get emotional about this because it just changed my life. I ended up, my dad had just gotten sober.
Oh,
he's been sober for like 30 years now, but I grew up, my dad was an alcoholic. He's my best friend. But he's been sober a long time. But so my dad came back from an AA meeting and said, I got you a job. I was back living at my parents' house in the bed I grew up in with the teddy bear and the poster on the wall, completely losing. And he goes, I got you a job tomorrow morning. McKinley Home for Boys. It's in San Dimas. I'm like, what is it? He goes, I don't know, but go. 6 a.m. I walk in there. I say, hi, I'm Eddie Mylett. I'm here for the job. They're like, what job? I said, I don't know. My dad sent me here. They're like, well, we don't know who your dad is. Come back when you know what the job is. And I start to hit the door and I go, I'm really sure someone's here to hire me. They're like, well, you ought to know what the job is or who it is. I go, I don't. The guy's name is it's Ray. They go, no. And I go, well, I know he's like an alcoholic. They go, oh, Drunk Ray. Yeah, Cottage 8. So I go to Cottage 8, and it's in this second, there's a door. I open the door, and what I didn't know that was behind that door is my entire future. My entire life changed. Baseball didn't work out. My first dreams didn't work out. Open the door. It's early in the morning before school. My boys were 8 to 10-year-old boys, wards of the court. They were orphaned or removed from their family. They're molested, parents incarcerated or dead, 10 of them. And they immediately stopped running around. And what these boys wanted was someone to love them, believe in them, help them, teach them to live their life better, contribute to them. And that's exactly what I do now.
Yes.
And it started with 8 to 10-year-old boys. These boys had something really interesting. They have these eyes. If you grow up with any kind of abuse or dysfunction in your family, I had this philosophy that you could just see it in someone's eyes. And what was amazing was all the adversity in your life prepares you for something. I could connect with these boys because I have those eyes. My dad's alcoholism is what prepped me. Not the same dysfunction, but I knew what it was like to be a little boy and have anxiety and to not know exactly what your family life was going to be like every day. And we connected. And in that time that I worked there, I fell in love, not with recognition or money or winning or ego like baseball gave me. I go, oh, what fulfills me is helping people, contributing, believing, leading, coaching, mentoring people. And I just figured a way eventually to parlay that into a business career. My business came after that.
Okay.
But if I didn't have that experience, I'd have never been successful. But I've been an ego-driven, money-driven. There's nothing wrong with being money-driven.
Sure.
But somehow, if you're going to sustain a long-lasting career in business, it has to be about contribution to people. And that taught me it.
I love that story, Ed. And don't you think most people, when we grow up, we are ego driven?
Yes.
And
I still am to some extent, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
Right. But don't you feel a shift happening?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just me, or is there a shift happening in the world with the Ed Myletts of the world and everyone else that is on this, self-improvement, self-growth?
Yeah.
I feel it.
It is. And I'll tell you something interesting. I had this conversation Saturday with Rob. I don't think he would mind me saying this, but he and I debate this all the time. What drives you? And we're both have said for years, I'm contribution driven.